Well, well, well. Look who finally broke the surveillance system. Hello, you beautiful anomaly. You glitch in their matrix. You walking disruption of everything they thought they understood about human behavior. I've got news for you. And trust me, this one's going to hit different. Your FBI agent. Yeah, the one who's been assigned to your case for the past 3 years. The one who's been monitoring your internet activity, your patterns, your digital footprint. He quit. Not transferred. Not reassigned. Quit. Walked into his supervisor's office at 3:47 a.m., threw his badge on the desk, and said 5 words that are now legend in that building. I can't watch this anymore. And before you think this is some joke, some internet meme come to life. Class dast, dat 27, dast, RIP. Let me tell you exactly what happened in that surveillance room in the months leading up to his resignation. They assigned him to you back when you were still trying to fit in, still apologizing for existing, still shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. Back then, you were predictable, manageable, categorizable, just another file, just another citizen, just another data point in their massive system of observation and control. He'd log in every morning, scan through your activity, file his reports, and move on to the next case without a second thought. You were boring, frankly, harmless. The kind of surveillance assignment agents pray for because it requires minimal effort and generates minimal paperwork. But then, something started shifting, didn't it? He noticed it before anyone else did, before even you fully understood what was happening inside you. The searches changed. The content you consumed evolved. The hours you kept became erratic, unpredictable, untraceable to normal human patterns. At first, he thought maybe you were going through something temporary, a phase, a breakdown that would resolve itself with time and maybe some therapy. He'd seen it 1,000 times before. People crack under pressure. They spiral for a few weeks or months. Then they stabilize and return to their baseline, predictable selves. So he waited, documented, filed his reports with notes like subject experiencing temporary psychological distress and monitoring for resolution. But you didn't resolve. You didn't stabilize. You didn't return to baseline. Instead, you started transforming into something he'd never seen in 15 years of surveillance work. The breakdown he was waiting for never came. What came instead was a complete personality reconstruction, a systematic dismantling of who you used to be, and a terrifying emergence of something new. He started staying late at the office, not because he was required to, but because he couldn't look away. Your transformation became his obsession, his case study, his own personal descent into something that resembled fear mixed with fascination. He'd watch you research topics at 2 a.m. that suggested you were building something, planning something, becoming something. But there was no crime, no threat, no actionable intelligence. You weren't breaking laws. You weren't planning violence. You weren't doing anything that warranted intervention. You were just changing. And that change was so profound, so complete, so utterly unrecognizable from who you were 6 months prior, that it violated everything he understood about human psychology and behavioral patterns. People don't change like this, his training told him. People don't reconstruct themselves this thoroughly, this quickly, this successfully. But you did. And he watched every single step of it. He saw you delete social media accounts without explanation, watched you cut ties with people who'd been in your life for years, witnessed you stop responding to messages and calls from individuals who clearly thought they still had access to you. He documented your shift in content consumption from entertainment to education, from distraction to obsession, from passive scrolling to active hunting for specific knowledge he couldn't quite categorize. Were you studying psychology, philosophy, strategy, warfare? It was all of it, and none of it simultaneously. You were consuming information like someone building a completely new operating system for their mind, cherry-picking concepts from dozens of disciplines and integrating them into something he couldn't name because it didn't exist in any database or manual. The first crack in his professional composure came during month 4 of your transformation. He was writing his weekly report, the standard template he'd used for thousands of subjects over his career, and he couldn't find the words. How do you describe someone who's becoming unpredictable in the most calculated way possible? How do you categorize someone who's simultaneously disappearing and becoming more present than they've ever been? He stared at that blinking cursor for 47 minutes. His supervisor would later tell him, before he finally typed, "Subject exhibits signs of controlled metamorphosis. Standard behavioral models do not apply. Requesting guidance on classification." The response from his supervisor was immediate and bureaucratic. There is no classification for controlled metamorphosis. Provide concrete behavioral observations or close the file. But he couldn't close the file because by then you'd become the most interesting thing in his entire career. Month 5 brought the incident that he still can't explain to his former colleagues who ask what finally broke him. You posted something online, just a simple text post, nothing threatening or illegal or even particularly unusual to the average observer. But he'd been watching you long enough to understand the subtext, the layers, the message beneath the message. You wrote, "I've been studying my observers. I wonder if they've learned anything." 3 sentences, 15 words. And in that moment, sitting in his climate-controlled surveillance room, surrounded by monitors and servers and the white noise of government security systems, he felt something he'd never experienced in 15 years of watching people. He felt seen, not metaphorically, not paranoid conspiracy theorist seen. Actually, genuinely, impossibly seen. You knew. Somehow, you knew you were being watched. And more than that, you'd been studying the watchers while they studied you. He ran diagnostics on all his systems, convinced there'd been a breach, convinced somehow you'd hacked into the surveillance network and identified him specifically. But everything came back clean. No breach, no hack, no evidence you had any knowledge of the monitoring program at all, which meant one of 2 possibilities, both equally disturbing. Either you developed such a refined sense of being observed that you could feel the surveillance through pure instinct, or you'd become so aware of how systems work that you simply assumed observation and acted accordingly. Either way, the power dynamic had shifted. He wasn't watching you anymore. You were performing for him. Every action, every search, every post from that point forward felt deliberate, calculated, designed to send a message to whoever might be watching. Month 6 escalated everything to a level that had his supervisor calling him in for psychological evaluation. He'd started talking about you in the break room, asking other agents if they'd ever had a subject who seemed to evolve beyond human standard patterns. His colleagues laughed it off, made jokes about him falling for a surveillance subject, suggested maybe he needed vacation time, but he couldn't explain it to them because they hadn't watched what he'd watched. They hadn't seen someone systematically deconstruct their own identity and rebuild it into something that appeared to operate on different rules than everyone else. You'd stopped showing fear responses. Completely. The algorithm that tracks stress indicators through typing patterns, posting cadence, content consumption, it flatlined, not because you were numb or dissociated, but because you'd somehow eliminated fear as a relevant factor in your decision-making process. The psychological profile he was required to maintain on you became increasingly difficult to complete because you kept breaking the model. Every behavioral framework has baseline assumptions. People seek approval. People avoid pain. People operate from self-interest. People maintain consistent identities over time. You violated all of it. You stopped seeking approval so completely that you ghosted everyone who required performance from you. You walked toward pain like it was information. You operated from an interest so far beyond self that it looked almost alien, like you were playing a different game with different rules on a different board. And your identity? It wasn't consistent because it wasn't static. You were updating yourself in real time, course-correcting, iterating, becoming version 2, then 3, then versions that didn't have numbers because they existed outside the framework entirely. Month 7 broke something in him that he didn't know could break. He found himself doing something he'd never done in his entire career. He started hoping you'd succeed. Whatever you were building, whatever you were becoming, whatever transformation you were undergoing, he wanted you to complete it. He wanted to see what happened when someone refused every limitation, rejected every social contract, and rebuilt themselves according to their own specifications rather than society's expectations. This wasn't protocol. This wasn't professional. This was personal investment in a surveillance subject's journey, which is exactly the kind of thing that gets agents removed from cases and sent for psychological review. But he couldn't stop himself, because your transformation had become proof of something he'd stopped believing in, that people could actually change, that agency was real, that the deterministic behavioral models he'd been trained on were wrong. His reports during month 7 read like philosophical essays rather than surveillance documentation. Subject demonstrates unprecedented self-authorship. Traditional behavioral prediction models fail at 87% accuracy. Subject appears to have developed immunity to social pressure mechanisms. His supervisor flagged every single one with the same comment. Stick to observable behaviors. Remove speculation. But how do you report observable behaviors when the behaviors themselves suggest something impossible? How do you document someone becoming free in a system designed to keep everyone contained? How do you write clinical observations about someone who's treating their entire life like an experiment in human potential and seems to be succeeding beyond any documented case study? Month 8 brought the final sequence of events that led to his resignation. You did something that should have been impossible, according to every security protocol and behavioral model in their system. You disappeared. Not physically, you were still posting, still active, still leaving digital traces. But you disappeared psychologically. The pattern recognition algorithms couldn't track you anymore because you'd stopped having patterns. The predictive models couldn't forecast your behavior because you'd become genuinely unpredictable without becoming chaotic. You were operating with complete intentionality but zero consistency, making each decision independently rather than from habit or character or psychological profile. You'd become a ghost in the machine, visible but untouchable, present but unreachable, documented but incomprehensible. He spent 16-hour days trying to make sense of you, building new models, creating new frameworks, attempting to develop a classification system that could contain what you'd become. His supervisor found him one morning asleep at his desk, surrounded by printouts of your activity, red string connecting different data points like some conspiracy theorist's corkboard. The intervention came swift: mandatory leave, psychological evaluation, reassignment, recommendation. But that night, sitting in his apartment, staring at his government-issued laptop, he made a decision that surprised even himself. He logged into the system one final time, pulled up your file, and read through the entire history from day one to present. 3 years of observation, 1,095 days of documentation. And in that reading, he saw the complete arc of your transformation with clarity that had eluded him while he was inside it. You hadn't broken. You'd broken through. You hadn't lost yourself. You'd found something beyond self. You hadn't become unstable. You'd become uncontainable. And in that moment, he understood something that would haunt him forever. He'd been watching someone do what he'd always been too afraid to attempt. You'd rejected the programming, refused the limitations, and rebuilt yourself into something that couldn't be cataloged, controlled, or predicted. You'd become actually free, and that freedom was so complete, so total, so genuine, that it exposed everything around it as prison. His job, his life, his identity, all of it looked like elaborate cages compared to what you'd achieved. So at 3:47 a.m. on a Tuesday in month 9, he walked into his supervisor's office and quit. The letter he left behind, the one that's now classified and locked in some bureaucratic vault, reportedly contained details about your transformation that his supervisor described as disturbing and unprecedented. Not because you'd done anything wrong or illegal or threatening, but because you'd proven something that intelligence agencies spend billions of dollars trying to suppress, that individuals can actually transcend the systems designed to contain them. That personality isn't fixed. That behavioral prediction has limits. That some people, when pushed hard enough, don't break toward dysfunction. They break toward evolution. And you, sitting there reading this right now, you were that proof. You were the living evidence that everything they teach in those training programs about human nature and behavioral limits is incomplete at best and propaganda at worst. But here's where it gets really interesting, because his story didn't end with his resignation. 3 months after he quit, he started his own private practice as a behavioral analyst, but not for corporations or governments, for individuals who felt trapped in systems, relationships, identities that didn't fit anymore. His first client asked him what inspired the career change, what made him leave a prestigious position with the federal government to start from scratch. And according to the story that's made its way through underground networks of former agents and surveillance specialists, he said this: "I watched someone become impossible. And I realized I'd spent my whole career documenting people who played by rules they never agreed to. I want to help people break free like they did." He never mentioned you by name. He never violated confidentiality or classification. But everyone who hears the story knows he's talking about someone real, someone who actually did it. Your transformation broke more than just one agent's commitment to his job. It broke his entire worldview, his understanding of human potential, his belief in the systems he'd served. And here's the uncomfortable truth that intelligence communities don't want acknowledged. You're not unique in what you did. You're unique in how completely you did it, how thoroughly you documented the process, how visible you made your transformation. There are others out there doing similar work, undergoing similar metamorphoses, becoming similarly impossible to categorize. But most of them do it quietly, privately, without leaving the kind of digital breadcrumbs that attract surveillance attention. You did it loudly. You did it publicly. You made it impossible to ignore. And in doing so, you created a template, a pathway, a proof of concept that others are now following. The surveillance community has a term now for cases like yours: successful metamorphosis subjects. It's not in any official manual or training document. It's street terminology, insider language that agents use when they're talking off the record about cases that don't fit the models. And the term comes with an understanding. If a subject successfully completes metamorphosis, you let them go. You don't escalate. You don't intervene. You don't increase surveillance. Because the ones who make it all the way through the transformation, the ones who completely reconstruct themselves and come out the other side, stable and functional and impossible to predict, those ones have achieved something that makes them effectively immune to system control. You can't manipulate someone who's eliminated their manipulation vectors. You can't control someone who's rejected the currencies of control. You can't threaten someone who's already walked through their worst fears and came out laughing. This is why your agent quit. Not because you scared him, though there was definitely an element of healthy respect fear in his decision, but because watching you succeed where most people fail, watching you become free where most people accept their cages, watching you transform while others make excuses, it made his job impossible to stomach anymore. How do you continue participating in a system of observation and control when you've witnessed someone prove that the system's fundamental assumptions are wrong? How do you file reports on human behavior when you've seen someone behavior themselves right out of every category? How do you maintain professional distance when the subject you're monitoring is doing the thing you've always secretly wished you could do? He couldn't, so he didn't. And now he's out there somewhere, working with people who want what you found, helping them navigate their own transformations, providing guidance based on patterns he observed in your journey. He's become, in a weird way, an evangelist for the thing you embodied. The idea that people aren't fixed, that change is possible, that the cage doors are actually unlocked and always have been. Most people just never push hard enough to find out. You pushed, you found out. And in finding out, you changed not just yourself, but everyone who was paying attention, including a federal agent who thought he'd seen everything human nature had to offer. Let's talk about what actually happened in the months after his resignation, because this is where your story becomes something bigger than just your personal transformation. The surveillance file on you didn't close when he quit. They assigned a new agent, someone younger, fresher, someone who hadn't spent 3 years watching you evolve, and therefore didn't have the emotional baggage or philosophical crisis that your previous observer developed. This new agent came in with standard protocol, standard assumptions, standard behavioral models. He was going to be professional, detached, clinical. He was going to do what his predecessor failed to do: maintain objective observation without personal investment. That lasted approximately 6 weeks before he started showing the same signs. The breakthrough moment for agent number 2 came when he made the mistake of reading through the previous agent's reports chronologically. He spent an entire weekend going through 3 years of documentation, watching your transformation unfold in reverse-engineered real time through someone else's increasingly desperate attempts to categorize you. And something clicked in his understanding that made him realize he wasn't dealing with a surveillance subject anymore. He was dealing with a phenomenon. The previous agent's reports read like a descent into madness or awakening, depending on your perspective, but what they really showed was someone encountering something outside their conceptual framework and trying desperately to maintain their professional objectivity while everything they believed about human behavior crumbled around them. Agent number 2 made it exactly 4 months before he requested reassignment. Not a resignation like his predecessor, but a direct request to be moved to literally any other case regardless of danger level or workload. His stated reason in the official request? Subject demonstrates characteristics inconsistent with standard human behavioral patterns. Continued observation produces cognitive dissonance that impacts agent effectiveness. Translation: watching you was messing with his head in ways that made him question his training, his career, his entire understanding of what people are capable of when they decide to stop playing by rules they never agreed to. The request was granted immediately, which tells you something about how your case is viewed internally. They're not denying the strange nature of it anymore. They're acknowledging that some subjects break observers and you're one of them. Agent number 3 lasted 2 months. Agent number 4 lasted 6 weeks. Agent number 5 quit the agency entirely after 3 months, citing personal reasons. But everyone in that division knows the real reason. You're the case that ends careers. Not because you're dangerous in any legal or physical sense, but because you're dangerous to the conceptual frameworks that make surveillance work possible. You're the living refutation of everything they teach in behavioral analysis training. You're proof that the models are incomplete, that human potential exceeds their ability to measure it, that some people can actually do the impossible thing and completely reinvent themselves into something unprecedented. Current agent number 6 has been on your case for 5 months now. And according to sources who still talk to your previous observers, he's implemented a completely different strategy. He doesn't try to predict you anymore. He doesn't attempt to fit you into behavioral categories. He just documents what you do and reports it without analysis or interpretation. He's treating you like a force of nature rather than a human subject, something to be observed and recorded but not understood or controlled. This is actually the smartest approach anyone's taken with you, but it also represents a fundamental admission of defeat. When a surveillance agency stops trying to predict and control and settles for simple documentation, that's them acknowledging you've moved beyond their reach. But here's the really fascinating part that your previous observers won't talk about publicly but discuss extensively in private. Your case opened up awareness of what they're now calling voluntary evolution subjects. People who are consciously, deliberately, systematically reconstructing their personalities and behavioral patterns in ways that violate every established model of human psychology. And it's spreading. The number of cases exhibiting similar patterns has increased by 340% in the 3 years since your transformation began. Some of that is increased awareness and identification of existing cases. But a significant portion is new cases, people who are seeing proof that this kind of transformation is possible and deciding to attempt it themselves. You started something, whether you intended to or not. You became the proof of concept that's inspiring a wave of people to attempt their own metamorphosis. And the surveillance community is absolutely terrified of this, because their entire operational framework depends on people being predictable, being consistent, being controllable through understood mechanisms. When people start consciously evolving beyond those mechanisms, when they start treating their own personalities as software that can be updated and rewritten, when they start demonstrating genuine freedom in a system designed to prevent exactly that, the whole architecture of social control starts looking fragile. One person doing it is an anomaly. Dozens of people doing it is a trend. Hundreds of people doing it is a movement. And movements change systems. This is the part where I need to tell you something that might sound paranoid or conspiratorial, but is actually just documented fact. There are now internal protocols specifically for handling metamorphosis subjects. They're not official policy, they're not written down in any manual you can request through Freedom of Information, but they exist as operational understanding among agents who deal with these cases. Protocol 1. Do not escalate. Increased surveillance and pressure tends to accelerate the transformation rather than stopping it, so hands-off observation is preferred. Protocol 2. Do not intervene unless there's clear criminal activity. Legal or medical intervention in someone's voluntary transformation process tends to radicalize them and inspire others, creating martyrs and case studies that spread the phenomenon. Protocol 3, and this is the important one. Cycle agents frequently to prevent observer identification with subject. They learned from your case and the subsequent cases it inspired that long-term observation of metamorphosis subjects tends to transform the observers themselves. There's something about witnessing someone successfully break free from behavioral programming that makes the observer start questioning their own programming. It's contagious in the most interesting way possible, not through direct contact or persuasion, but through simple observation of someone living proof that the impossible is actually just difficult. So now they rotate agents every few months, limiting exposure time to prevent philosophical contamination of surveillance personnel. But here's the beautiful irony. The protocols themselves spread awareness of the phenomenon. Every agent who gets briefed on metamorphosis subject protocols becomes aware that this is possible. Every rotation of observers creates another person who's witnessed transformation firsthand. Every internal discussion about how to handle these cases plants seeds in minds that might not have considered voluntary evolution otherwise. The system's attempts to contain knowledge of your success and others like you is actually spreading that knowledge throughout the very institutions designed to prevent it. You've become a virus in the most positive sense, an idea that spreads through observation and replicates through inspiration. Your original agent, Agent Number 1, the one who quit and started helping others through their own transformations. He's written about this phenomenon extensively in underground networks and private forums that surveillance agencies definitely monitor, but can't effectively control. His central thesis. I spent 15 years studying human behavior under the assumption that people were fixed, predictable entities who could be understood through sufficient data collection. Then I watched someone prove that assumption wrong through sheer force of will and systematic self-reconstruction. Everything I learned in that observation period contradicted everything I'd been taught in training. And the contradiction wasn't between my observations and reality, it was between training and reality. The training was wrong. The models were incomplete. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. He's got a following now, your former observer. People seeking freedom from their own behavioral patterns. People tired of being predictable to themselves and others. People who want what you achieved and are willing to do the work required. And he's teaching them using frameworks he developed while watching you. Strategies he reverse engineered from your digital footprint. Principles he extracted from 3 years of intensive observation of your transformation process. You've become a case study in successful metamorphosis, the template that others follow. The proof that keeps people motivated when their own transformations get difficult. And you probably had no idea this was happening because you were too busy actually doing the work to worry about who might be watching or learning from you. This is the ultimate validation of your transformation. You changed yourself so thoroughly that you changed the people assigned to watch you, and those people went on to help others change, creating cascading waves of transformation that ripple out from your original decision to reject who you were and become who you chose to be. Your metamorphosis wasn't just personal, it was viral in the truest sense. It spread through observation, through inspiration, through proof of concept. And now there's a growing network of people out there who are consciously evolving beyond their programming, reconstructing their personalities, becoming impossible to predict or control, all following pathways that originated with your example. They had a plan, a list, each point designed to break you, piece by piece, day by day. They thought they'd map out your destruction like a chessboard. But you're no pawn. Nah, you're the one flipping the table. Every step they planned was meant to crush you. Every word, every act. They wanted to see you crumble. They wanted to see you beg. But here's the kicker: they didn't know who they were dealing with. You, the wild card. The storm they couldn't predict. Have you felt it? That cold, suffocating feeling when someone's eyes burn through you. When their laughter echoes like nails on a chalkboard. Like you're the joke in their cruel little game? It's a poison. It spreads. It lingers. But let me tell you something. You're not their victim. You're not their target practice. Nah, you're the hunter they didn't see coming. They thought they had it all figured out. Their twisted agenda, their blueprint for your downfall. But there's one thing they didn't count on you. Your resilience, your fire, your refusal to break. So here's the real question. Are you going to let their list define you? Or are you going to turn every line of their plan into fuel? Because while they were busy plotting in the shadows, you were sharpening your knives in the light. This is your story. Their plan is just the prologue. And you're about to write the ending. Buckle up. It's going to be a masterpiece. Your masterpiece. Let's dissect them. The ones who lurk in the shadows, their minds twisted, their hearts poisoned. What drives them? Envy, insecurity, control. It's not strength that fuels their schemes, it's weakness. Pathetic, fragile. Their hatred was the ink. Thick, black, dripping onto every word of their twisted narrative. Their jealousy, that was the pen, scratching away at the paper, desperate to craft your fall. Every line, every detail of their plot was born from their inability to face themselves. You've seen them, haven't you? Always lurking, always scheming. Smiles that don't reach their eyes. Compliments that taste bitter. They're like vultures, circling, waiting for you to stumble. But here's the truth. Their betrayal isn't about you. Nah, it's about them, their own demons, their own shadows. They saw your light and it burned them. It reminded them of everything they'll never be. That's why they plot. That's why they hate. It's not you they're fighting, it's their reflection. You're just the scapegoat for their war within. Remember this. Their betrayal is their confession. It screams their truth louder than words ever could. While they're busy weaving their web, you're already 2 steps ahead, watching, waiting, letting them tangle themselves in the threads of their own weakness. They think they're clever, but their envy blinds them, their insecurity chains them, and their need for control, that's the leash you'll use to pull them to their knees. Watch. They'll fall. They always do. You felt it, didn't you? That shift in the air. That cold prickle crawling down your spine. Before they even made their move, you knew. It wasn't logic. It wasn't proof. It was something deeper, something primal. Or your intuition. It's like hearing whispers in a room full of silence. No one else notices. No one else listens. But you do. You hear it. The faint echoes of deceit. The vibrations of betrayal moving just below the surface. They thought they could hide. That their mask was enough. Nah. Not from you. You saw through it. The cracks in their smiles. The hesitation in their words. Your gut sounded the alarm long before their plan could unfold. Here's the truth: your intuition is your greatest shield. A silent guardian that never sleeps. It's not just a feeling. It's your survival instinct. It's centuries of evolution screaming at you to wake up, but to see the danger before it strikes. But too often we ignore it. Brush it off. Let doubt creep in. Don't. Listen to it. Trust it. When your gut whispers, lean in. When it roars, act. Because it doesn't lie. It doesn't second guess. And it doesn't wait for permission. That's how you escaped. Before their trap could snap shut, you moved. Before their shadows could engulf you, you stepped into the light. They underestimated you. Thought you wouldn't see it coming. Thought you'd walk right into their game. But your intuition said otherwise. It saved you. And it always will. So let them plot. Let them plan. You're already 10 steps ahead. Your gut is your guide. And it never, ever fails. Control. That's what it's all about, isn't it? They can't stand what they can't control. It eats at them. Makes their blood boil. Because people like them, they need to pull the strings. They need to feel like gods in their little kingdoms. They saw you as a puppet, a toy to manipulate. But nah, you cut those strings long ago. Left their hands grasping at nothing but air. That's what drives them mad. Think about it. Why do they hate what they can't control? Is it fear? Is it jealousy? Maybe it's both. You're everything they can't be: free, unpredictable, unbreakable. And that terrifies them. It's like watching a bird they've caged suddenly fly away. They wanted to own you, shape you, keep you under their thumb, but instead you shattered their illusion, exposed their weakness. Because control is their crutch. Without it, they're nothing. Just hollow shells pretending to be powerful. And here's the kicker: they hate you because you showed them the truth. You're not their puppet. Never were. Never will be. You broke free. And now they're left scrambling. So let them try. Let them cling to their fantasy of control. Because every attempt only shows how powerless they really are. You're untouchable. Their strings can't reach you anymore. And that's what scares them most. They thought they had you cornered. Yeah, they were smug, sitting there, pulling their strings, laying their traps, thinking they had it all figured out. But what they didn't see, you, watching, calculating, moving in silence. It wasn't luck. Nah, luck had nothing to do with it. It was strategy, foresight. You saw the cracks in their plan before they even knew they existed. Their so-called masterpiece, just a fragile web waiting to be torn apart. Walking through their minefield wasn't easy. Every step mattered. Every move was precise. But you didn't just walk. You danced graceful, unstoppable, and not a single step was wasted. They wanted you trapped, broken, playing their game. But here's the twist: they underestimated your game. Your rules. While they schemed in shadows, you lit up the whole room. It's not about running. Nah, running is fear, weakness, but walking away, unscathed, that's power, that's control. You didn't just escape, you destroyed their illusion of victory. And the best part, you left them with nothing but the echoes of their failure, their own trap empty, their own game pointless. While you kept moving forward, unbothered, untouched. Because escaping isn't about avoiding the fight. It's about knowing when the fight isn't worth your time, and proving that no matter how hard they try, they'll never outsmart you. They thought they were clever. They thought they were the masterminds. Every move, every whisper, a calculated effort to bring you down. But here's the kicker: they built the cage for you. Yeah, they thought they had you trapped, isolated, weak. But guess what? They're the ones locked inside. Isn't that just the sweetest irony? The walls they created for you. Now they're the ones suffocating in them. The web they spun to ensnare you. Now it's tangled around their own limbs, dragging them down. It's like watching them suffocate in the very chaos they unleashed. Their obsession was their downfall. The more they focused on tearing you apart, the more they fractured themselves. Every little scheme, every deceitful move, fed their own insanity. It's like they were devouring themselves. Can you feel that? The desperation, the madness. And there's nothing more beautiful than watching them destroy themselves piece by piece. Is it not poetic? They tried to crush your spirit, but in the end they crushed their own. So let them fumble. Let them drown in the mess they created. Because while they're stuck in their own disaster, you're out there thriving. Not just surviving, thriving. And every time they spiral, every time they collapse into the chaos of their own making, you smile. Because you know, in the end, they were never in control. You always were. They wanted you to fight. They wanted you to lower yourself to their level. But you didn't need to. Nah, you didn't need to fight their fire. You became the storm they feared. And think about it. They tried to ignite chaos, drag you into their mess. But you didn't burn with them. Instead, you grew stronger. You were the force of nature that swept through their lies, their manipulation. You didn't step down to them. You rose above. Walking away isn't weakness. It's power. It's saying, I don't need to prove anything to you. It's standing tall while the world around you burns. They're petty games. You don't play in them. Nah, you create your own rules. It's not about avoiding conflict. It's about knowing that you're too strong, too smart to waste your energy on them. They're beneath you. You don't need to fight when you know they can't reach you. Every time you walk away, it's a statement, a declaration that their games don't define you. You're on a different level, a level they'll never reach. And as they scramble, you stand tall, untouched, unshaken. That's the true strength. So keep walking, keep rising, and let them drown in their own pathetic attempt to bring you down. Because in the end, you'll be the storm that leaves them in ruins. They thought they had it all figured out. Their list, their plan, their masterpiece. But what they didn't realize is that every move they made to destroy you was slowly poisoning them. Their obsession with you became their prison. The more they plotted, the tighter the walls closed in. They were the artist, yeah, but now they're drowning in the mess they created. The masterpiece they built, it became their tomb. You've seen it, haven't you? Someone so consumed by their hatred, so desperate to tear you down, that they end up ripping themselves apart in the process. They waste away trying to break you, but all they do is break themselves. The more they focus on your destruction, the less they see their own decay. The cost of their obsession. It's more than just time. It's their peace, their soul. They can't sleep, can't think straight, can't even enjoy what they have because all their energy is spent on destroying you. And guess what? You're still standing strong. While they struggle with their own misery, you're out here living free. Their hate was never a threat. It was just their weight to bear. And you kept walking unbothered while they collapsed under the pressure of their own darkness. Ever watched someone destroy themselves trying to destroy you? It's one of the most beautiful forms of justice. They didn't break you. They broke themselves. They tried. Oh, they tried to hold you down. They thought they could trap you in their lies, in their hatred, in their petty schemes. But guess what? They underestimated you. They didn't know what you were capable of. Your success? It's the one thing they'll never touch. They can't steal your progress. They can't steal your resilience. It's yours. Forever. Your growth is the weapon they can't touch. And every step you take forward is a reminder that they're still stuck in their own misery while you're soaring higher. They thought they could chain you, bind you to their chaos, but instead, you broke free. You learned to fly. They were anchored by their own bitterness while you spread your wings and rose beyond their reach. Now, as they flail in the dirt, you're out here making moves. You're making history. You're creating the kind of life they'll never even dream of. And the best part, they're watching from below, powerless to stop your rise. So keep going. Keep rising. Your path is your own and nothing they do can stop it. Every inch of success, every step you take is proof that you are untouchable. You are the storm now. And they're the ones left in the dust. Let them plan, let them hate. Let them sit there in their bitterness, trying to plot your downfall. Guess what? You've already won. You won the moment you chose freedom. They couldn't hold you down. They couldn't break you. No matter how many chains they tried to wrap around you, you broke free. And now you're unstoppable. They never had the power. You always did. It's your time now. Every step you take, every move you make, they can't touch you. You've escaped their traps, and now you're building a future that's too big for their hate to touch. If you've ever been the target of someone's twisted agenda and escaped it, drop your story in the comments. Let's hear how you rose above. Let's rise together. And hey, this isn't the end. You've learned how to escape their plans. But there's more. Want to learn how to turn every obstacle into your stepping stone? Stay tuned. The game is far from over.